Union, your union. We shall look at code enforcement, our findings, recommendations, and our conclusion. We have seen the process of code drafting, its content, and the process of its implementation. Now, we look at another vital component in the life wire of codes, enforcement. The enforcement stage of a code is undeniably a crucial aspect of its establishment. Without proper detection and sanction for code violations, the ethical code runs the risk of becoming a mere useless and neglected instrument. Well-defined and communicated sanctions serve as a deterrent and reinforces the importance of adhering to ethical codes. Hence, organizations need to not only develop comprehensive codes of ethics, but also establish a robust and practical approach towards the enforcement of ethics throughout the entire organizational structure. It must be noted that even though ethical code violations fall within the enforcement purview of private law, because it raises questions and are resolved within the internal system of the International Sporting Organization, there exists an interrelationship with public law, wherein certain issues of ethical violations would invoke the machinery of the state, like the police and other law enforcement agencies of the state, as was highlighted in the Larry Nassar case by my colleague Mario Pagano, a man who assaulted over 256 girls and women for 18 years. People kept under his watch. Now, let us for once pause and ponder what the effect would be if ethical codes are not enforced. Our athletes, our children, the future of the unborn, the very delicate nature of sports would lack protection, and mere anarchy would be let loose upon the surface of the world of sports. To properly enforce code of ethics, it must be noted that a proper and effective channel for communicating cases of violations becomes inevitable. We note, however, that the enforcement of the letters of code of ethics are not without certain legal limitations, ranging from due process or lack of it to the bureaucratic and somewhat dependent judicial framework within the organization. Therefore, it becomes a great limitation where incidences of violations cannot be implemented due to certain intentional and unintentional clogs in the wheel of progress of efficacy of codes. As Christopher Ehre so gently puts, when law enforcement fails to fulfill its most basic duty to protect and serve its citizens, particularly members of a minority community, it not only tarnishes the badge we all wear, but erodes the trust that we in law enforcement have worked so hard to build. Our findings reveal that ethical codes go beyond mere words on documents. It is a comprehensive and intricate framework that demands the active involvement and commitment of all stakeholders, you and I, and every member of this team. Therefore, for a comprehensive ethical code regime in sports, each part of the layers above must function together. Otherwise, the system breaks. We know that it is challenging but we also observe in the course of our studies that we can strengthen the layers one step at a time. Education, ethical leadership, clear content, safeguarding, which is the in thing right now, because you find that some organizations are now beginning to flash their torchlight on the issue of safeguarding. Strict enforcement involving stakeholders, back to you and back to Group 5 as well. Proper communication and reporting mechanisms. In making our recommendations, we note that the changing tides of today's world, necessitated by the growing dynamics of technology, opens another vista of thought on the question of ethics. Ethical codes therefore need to constantly adapt to current trends, for instance, cyberbullying, online harassment, and acceptance of cryptocurrency or manipulation of results. And we recommend a more proactive approach towards the ethical code question. And we recommend a more proactive approach towards the ethical code question, considering new innovations in technology and the impact of social media in today's world. We observe that questions concerning ethical codes are not always on the front burner in international organizations, especially in sports, and are mostly categorized as secondary issues. Whereas, in the grand scheme of things, ethical codes and the need for conscious knowledge of its existence, implementation, and potency should be the duty of all and sundry within the sporting ecosystem. Conclusively, distinguished professors, fellow colleagues, their family and friends, those watching online, as you live here today, think of the world of sports without the vital potency of ethical codes. Think of the future of sports. Think of the vision of the first inventors of the various sports we enjoy and their ultimate desire to make sports purified. Think of athletes molested as a result of lack of codes or its enforcement. And I bet, we bet, you will agree with Group 5 that this onion we have sliced pleads for attention, its voice reverberating around all corners of the world, asking for sports world, asking for the entire world to treat it with all sense of seriousness and responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Group 5, on your excellent presentation. Congratulations. So now we have a short time for questions. Professor Rigotti.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the presentation. Here again, I must confess that I did not have the opportunity